Okay, it's Monday, April 24th at 6 o'clock. I'm calling the meeting of the Norton Permanent Building Committee to order. All members are present. Our OPM is present, our architect is present, our architect's second man is present. Our selectmen's representative hasn't made it yet, and our finance committee representative hasn't made it yet. We have a representative from the food kitchen. We have the mayor of Norton is here, and the chairwoman of the, is it called senior center or?
Council of Aging.
What?
Council of Aging.
Council on Aging, and another invited citizen whose husband happens to be on the meeting, has nowhere to go. And Beth is online, so. With that, attendance having been taken, the first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Has everybody read them? They were online, all 422 pages. I'll let the man who was in Disneyland during vacation week, the only rich person on this committee.
Not anymore.
Well, you either spend your kid's inheritance now or spend it later like I'm doing.
That's
So,
right,
either way, spend it, you worked hard for it.
that's right.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brian, second by Bob. Did Bob? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand, please, because I have my ears in, but I'm not hearing well. The representative from the finance committee is online, Sandy Holohead. I thank her for being here. As far as what I've done, I've stopped by the site multiple times. I've gone to the pre-construction meetings, tried to attend them. I go by the town hall about 3 times a week, which they're getting sick of seeing me already, hard to believe, such a nice guy, but, Mike sort of walks away into a closet when he sees me, but, and I ran into Bob Maderos today. He, is still trying to pick up the mail and stuff, but I picked up everything. The only thing that's been there has been, I forget the names. Bills. To sign the bills that are due, with the approval of the OPM, which I do. I also, after being elected chairman, I tried to go through everything in the past 5 years that we've done, that I have print of, and I thought that I discovered some errors or omissions or just forgetfulness more on my part than anybody else's part. So rather than break the open meeting laws, I met individually with each committee member, although Brian was at Disney and I didn't want to disturb him. I just told him that I had an issue. And we'll discuss the issue tonight. I discussed the issue at the construction meeting on Tuesday of last week, to give a heads up to everybody that I was gonna be bringing them up here. And then met with the other 4 board members, over the phone or clandestinely in parking lots throughout town, where the drones were flying over or whatever, spying on it, but, just to keep everybody fully informed of what's going on. And that's about all I've done. There was no correspondence, there was only one invoice that was there today. I haven't seen another invoice in the last week and a half. And there was there were actually 2 invoices, one for the town hall and one for the senior center, community center. I also had a lot of citizens' questions. I've gone to a few of the candidates, in case anybody who's online doesn't know it. There's an election next Saturday. I've gone to a couple of election candidates forums, and I also had the men's senior center breakfast this week, and I've had quite a few questions about different things that are going on and everything else, and I've met with Mike Eunice a couple of times about the groundbreaking ceremony and the process and what's going on and the invitations and whatever, so I think the Tuesday that I brought up the issues here, I think I spent from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9:30 at night on building committee stuff, and it's become a full-time job, and I, looking for sympathy here, no motion, okay, no motion for sympathy. So I guess I'm done explaining things. Again, if anybody has any questions, try to catch me. Please don't try to catch me at the elections. I've already had a hint that the town clerk thinks I may have to set up an office at the elections because people stop to talk to me, and I'm supposed to be doing election duties, and I guess you can't figure that I can do two things at the same time, because she's not paying for my mouth, and I'm using my mouth to do the building committee stuff, but I'm using my hands to run the elections, but I will try to answer questions and everything else, so I guess next on the agenda is Steve, our OPM, for the community center project report.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Good evening, everybody. OPM report for tonight's meeting. Community Center, Senior Community Support Center is first. Progress since our last PBC meeting. The abatement is complete. The house and the garage have been demolished. The concrete pad that was behind the house and the foundations for the garage and the house have been demolished. And at this point, some of it has been removed. Trees were all removed. Topsoil stripping has started. They also, I had started this last week, but they came in on Saturday and started to excavate soil in the footprint of the building. And as Jim said, we've started holding job meetings in the office trailer as there's power in that now.
Steve, before you flip a page, do you have an extra one of these?
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you.
The construction progress photo documentation, it's all pretty much the same things. This was when they had finally cleared the front area of the site. If you remember, there was a bunch of large pine trees in the front. And just another view of the house and the garage before the demolition. At this point, all the trees are out. And then we started demolishing the house. Some good pictures of that. And the house is completely down. There's the demolished garage foundation, the demolished house foundation, and then a couple photos of them loading the materials out. In this case, it's the foundation materials. So, schedule look ahead.
Excuse, question?
Yep.
There's a lot of remediation from asbestos,
We did asbestos removal, 2 above ground oil tanks, and there was some fluorescent fixtures that were taken out. But the majority was the asbestos containing material.
there's nothing more than what you thought was there, right?
No, there was nothing discovered that was, there was
The
nothing
the
on the
other thing,
foundation
the
walls.
little shop that was there that I believe the Seaver construction manager is using, I guess they found asbestos tile on the floor, and they did have to do abatement in that building also, so.
And that was done, that was part of the contract. that was abated and they're back into that, using that as a field office.
Kevin, did you wanna bring up your picture suggestion?
Should I? Thank you, Jim.
I think we could have.
Yeah, my suggestion is instead of printing all of these photos, since we have it on the camera, we have it on the screen, they're in the PDF version of the notes, that we don't ask them to include these photographs in the packet, to save on ink and paper and,
And I also suggested, while we were discussing this, that maybe we could put 2 pictures on a page, which would save half of the number of pages. I don't know if Kevin wants to make that, if it has to be a motion, or accept my suggestion as an amendment, or
well, is there
how
a
the
second
committee
to,
feels.
is there a second to my motion, and then we'll go from there?
Did you make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we not require Steve and his team to print the colored photographs at all.
That's all it is.
Do I see a second anywhere?
I'll second it.
Okay, this is another one of those things against my better judgment, which I will bring up to haunt you later. All
You
those in
asked.
favor?
Hold on.
What,
Provided-
discussion on the motion?
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
For the minutes, if you could just send me a PDF of that, then you don't need to print them, but I need them for the minutes. If that's okay.
Yeah, that's
You want a PDF of the entire thing?
Yeah,
You wanna just print everything except the photos?
correct.
To be determined in about 30
to
seconds.
be determined by the vote.
Is the motion.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Can I ask what the estimated cost savings might be?
You had to
To
ask
play
that
a devil's
question.
advocate, I'm sorry.
Well, we're sort of doing it as a service, but if you want me to start tracking the costs, I can certainly do that.
I knew you were gonna say that. That's why I asked.
You will now.
Is it significant is what I'm saying?
Okay, there was no answer to that question, other than we're not getting
It's a
charged. Bob?
convenience.
Look, you wanna see what's going on, drive by the site, they've got it on here, I can't see it from here. I go by that site 3 times a week, I don't know how the rest of these guys feel, but I drive by, I see it, I can pull in, I can see what's going on, all right? That's how I feel about it, and if I wanna see pictures, there they are.
We'll just post it on the website.
Any other questions? Bob?
I think they ought to put them on the website, the town website. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah,
Well, they're in our minutes.
They're in the minutes on the website.
for people to see.
And I got a photo of the site on my phone that I took.
Okay, anybody else who wants to jump on this bandwagon? Okay,
Excuse me, Jim?
well, Kevin's,
Val? Yes,
is
Val.
that Sandy or
I wondered if I
Beth?
could also be on the email list to get a copy of anything, please?
She wants to be on the email list to get copies of things.
I believe they're on, although you won't get copies pre-meeting, no, I don't think anybody does get anything pre-meeting. You can get them after the meeting, when usually Mark has submitted the minutes within 3 days, usually. Does that answer your question or not?
Yeah, I'm not distributing these before the meeting.
No.
That's
They,
fine.
they become part of the meeting while it's going on.
Thank you, Kevin.
You graciously asked him, you brought it up, but that's good.
You brought it.
So,
So, yes, Brian.
quick question, so when you, Mark does the minutes, they go to the town
Clerk
clerk,
of the town clerk.
and they post them on the website?
Yes.
We just have a copy of his posted with it, right? So they're in the same week?
It's all
Yes,
together.
I attach his
You attach his
presentation to the
to-
minutes.
yeah.
Pretty standard, yeah.
Yeah, and that way anybody can just go to the town
Yes.
website and click on it.
Yes.
Right.
So I asked with you.
Correct. Just to be clear.
Okay,
Okay,
seeing no
go on.
more questions, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? So moved,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So just for my clarity, the motion was that the copies I bring here are
Do not
less
have-
photos.
Do not have to include photos.
Okay.
Black and white.
But they will be included in your presentation.
Correct.
On the screen.
Correct.
Which will then be put into the minutes. I think that answers the 207 questions about your presentation. Okay, Ed, Steve, let's move on.
Okay, the schedule look ahead, as we've discussed with the contractor, the removal of topsoil and subsoil to get down to the acceptable level of the natural sand. And that subgrade needs to be approved by the geotechnical engineer. We did have that scheduled for this week, but it does not appear that they're going to be ready for it. At that point, they're gonna be importing approved structural fill to be used for the bearing for the foundation, the footings and the walls. They have a number of bagged samples that are going to be picked up by our testing agency tomorrow. And all of that comes with documentation. Yankee Testing will be verifying what they've submitted is, number one, what testing they've submitted with it is accurate and that it meets the requirements for the materials that the geotechnical engineer has specified for the project. Then they're gonna be starting footings, foundations, which will be forming rebar and pouring concrete, and starting site work and utilities, because essentially it'll be Seaver, it'll be the site work guy and the foundation guy for a couple weeks. That's the anticipated look at it. Other issues that have come up for the senior center, with Mass DOT, we're still in the process of VHB, the civil engineer is still in the process of working with Mass DOT to get the curb cut and the water utility permit. We just did get some more comments back through Mike units that we forwarded. So that's an ongoing issue. As we discussed last meeting, they want to put a sidewalk along Mansfield Ave as part of this project. But I think what we need to do is get their final requirements first, and then we'll deal with getting pricing from CEQA
Okay,
for
two
that
questions,
sidewalk.
Steve, one from Mark.
Did the town make VHB an agent, whatever they had to do?
For the water, yes. Yeah.
And my question is, how, there are already 2 curb cuts there for the previous owner, correct? How much are we following that footprint?
Well, they're close, but they're not in the same location.
Okay. Okay, you can move on.
Groundbreaking ceremony ends this Friday at 11. I did see that there was an email that had been sent out for it. One thing that we wanted to bring up, somewhat new, is FF&E. We wanna put together a working group so that Ed and Bob and maybe someone else from your office. Sarah. Can start working on choosing furniture for the project, which obviously we don't need until we turn it over. But we wanna get that going now, because sometimes there's a long lead time on furniture. Plus, we have to go through all the, obviously, the architect has a layout, but it has to be reviewed by the end users, and then you have fabrics and styles and costs. All of that'll be through the state bid list, so we'll be going to companies like WB Mason or COR or a few others that are on the state bid list already, where you, there's discounts worked into their contracts already. But the process isn't just a one-meeting thing, so. What we'd like to do is have the committee establish a working group.
I think you mentioned it the last meeting, and it sort of got dropped by the wayside. Now that it's on the table, I would, I don't know if this requires a motion or just a chairman's appointment, chairperson, anybody wanna be on, well, my idea would be to have 2 people from the committee. One not me, it's one less meeting I have to go to. But 2 people from the committee, preferably one of them being Bob Maderos, if he's willing to serve, because I'm sorry, Bob Briscoe. Want one of my nitro, or you all set?
My time
One,
is
one
winding
being
down.
Bob, I woke him up, one being Bob Briscoe because he is the, senior center representative on the board. I would assume Beth should be on that committee, and I can't think of anybody that the chairman should appoint. The other people from the architect and the OBM, I see,
One other question, Jim.
yes.
If Beth is not available, could Bruce Schneider sit in for Beth? and she fill
As
Beth
an
in
alternate?
As an alternate.
We actually had through the chair, Jim,
What?
She's asking a
can you
question.
hear me?
Now, yes,
Okay, you know, the COA board had a board meeting and they voted to have 2 COA members, also on this committee. We feel strongly that since we run the day-to-day operation, we'd be the best ones to pick up furniture.
well, Bob is treasurer of the, COA board,
Yeah,
yes,
COA.
Bob is treasurer of the Prince, sorry. Do you have, other than, Ruth's name, another name?
Ruth can tell you who it is, I don't remember.
Jim Turner?
At our last COA meeting, Beth made a mention of the furniture. And she said she would like to be on it if she's, well, Saucy, our secretary, and myself. That's how we left it.
Well, if I could, I think we could wait a little while, and this committee wouldn't have to start like next week, so if it helps to
Well-
delay it a little bit.
I think in my deep dive, I see your hand, Brian, I'll get to you next week. I think when we were doing the deep dive, we mentioned that Senator Feeney's money, the $50,000 that Senator Feeney found to give towards us, was supposed to be spent by, I believe, June of 2023. So, thinking that spending it on furniture or pre-ordering, or however that process happens, may be, you know, what we're thinking of doing, but. So, back to the appointment, Bob Maderos will not be on the committee. Bob Briscoe, do you have a problem with being on the committee? No. Brian seems to,
I'll volunteer. The question I had, are we doing 2 committees, because town hall obviously may have different furniture than
It's
senior center?
another page on the presentation.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
well, I don't know who's gonna stand in for the town, Mike and somebody else maybe.
well, yeah.
Is he on? Is Mike on? No. So we'll have to have 2 committees.
One problem at a time.
Okay.
So, you're volunteering for the community center furniture committee?
Yeah, I
Okay.
could be on both of them.
Okay, so the 2 board members would be Brian and Bob Briscoe, the 3 people that Ruth suggested, and the architect and friends. Is that, any other input, output, no put?
Just have to figure out the town hall.
Okay, that's my appointments. Okay, Ed, let's move on. Steve,
So other issues, I don't know, I sort of put those up there, this is what you were alluding to earlier.
sure, we might as well, why not?
New scope suggestions by the owner that have come up, there was 3 of them, as I recall. One being replacing the windows off of the great room, with doors directly to the new patio, installing one operable partition in one of 2 places in the building, and deleting the drive-up window. Now, just as a reminder for people, so
Okay, this is,
there's your patios out here, this is your great room. These are all, this is a window wall right here. You have a 3-foot door here, you have a 3-foot door here to get onto the patio, which is out back. The suggestion now is to create, maybe not all of them, but maybe a couple of these window openings as being glass doors, correct?
correct,
Swinging doors, not sliding.
Swinging, yeah.
swinging, yeah, I don't care what kind of door, as long as there's access from the inside, outside. Let's, I'd like to preclude this was my idea of reviewing stuff. It did not come from the board. I guess I'm considered one of the owners, but he threw me under the bus by calling me the owner, but it was
Can I
brought
just-
up by me.
Can I just jump in? Can
Yeah.
I just jump in a little bit? May I, please?
Yes.
I think you're just looking for clarity on
Yes,
doors
I would-
versus windows, is that right? Just for a little background, it's been a very, very long time since doors were ever shown there, I mean, an extremely long time. But I still think, so the question is, I mean, right now, we're showing the two doors that Steve pointed out. There was discussion, you know, a very long time ago about doors and some of the challenges with doors as it relates to sun control, bugs, you know, place for the doors when they open. And that conversation in some way led us to go with windows. And what you're seeing, if you probably all recall the renderings that were done, and those renderings showed, you know, have shown windows for some time. And I'm just gonna I don't know, Ed probably, I think Ed has these, so I can share all these with you. And also in the back here, maybe I can pass these around if that makes it easier. But so, and I just would like everyone to know that these windows that we're showing in the back are very large. It's not like they're windows like this. These are very large windows, so the connection, the visual connection to the back, and these are the dimensions here. And so you can see that, it's hard to see, Ed could bring it up. But so, the middle windows, I don't know, can you zoom up on there a little bit, Steve? You know, there are three windows in the middle, and connected, they're 10 feet 1 inches wide, so quite broad. And then there are windows flanking either side of that, 6 feet 6 and 6 feet 6. And then the windows in the middle, with the transom above, the windows are 12 feet 6 to the top. So just imagine, above this is the window. So the window in the middle is, you know, these ceiling panels are 4 feet. So, you know, it's, you know, you get a sense of 10 feet, bring that all the way down. You know, so there's a big series of windows in the middle, and then windows either side, and then the door to the right, and then a little bit over more in the door to the
Want to
left.
plug into Ed's computer?
Would that help? It might help, yeah. Yeah, we just, actually, I'll just.
I think while we're trying to find this,
Oh.
like I mentioned at the beginning when I was giving my report, I
Yeah, so I-
wanted some clarification because we got talking about the rubber brick outside and the patio, and the discussion was to use this like a 3-season area for the senior center. And it was one of the 3 things I wanted clarification on,
Yeah.
because looking at, now that we have the picture of it, I thought it was like a series of like 5 windows. To me there, that looks like about 5 windows. And I thought access to the porch, which is where you see the hand, number 1 is a small door, and the only other outside entrance is way over in the closet storage area to a side door.
Can you get these?
But, you know, I just wanted clarification that we wanted the community to have access to this area.
Yes.
And I didn't feel the 2 emergency exit doors, which I believe those are really meant to be, and that's.
Really not though, Jim, in all frankness, you know.
But, well, there is an exit sign over the one.
Well, there has to be, yeah. And if you put more doors up, there'll be more exit signs, yeah.
So, but they'll be 12.5 feet up. Or hang, it doesn't matter.
It is a serious
But
issue.
I just wanted some clarification, and Bob, I see your hand. And these 3 things that I bring up, I just wanted some clarification, because we're gonna deep dive into the bricks someplace along here, probably about midnight. And if we're gonna invest in a patio out back, I think we should have a more open access to what's going on. And in the past, somewhere along the line, and that's why I went to each board member, I know that we voted on it, and there's a lot of things we voted on and we eliminated because of the rising cost of construction. I wasn't sure what was eliminated, what was added. to me, this was an important part. I also felt that before we started putting brick and mortar into what's going on, to get these problems solved, so I asked to see the whole project as a whole, because I don't think the board has sat down, we've sat down and looked at it like we first discussed the kitchen for about 3 months, then we thought we solved that problem, we moved on to other things. Some things we aren't sure we solved, and this is the first issue. I just wanted clarification, I wanted the board to have clarification, and we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, we wanna make sure if people have any questions whatsoever in terms of what you're about to get, what's in the construction documents, please ask. We don't want any surprises. We don't like surprises. We want to answer any questions that people might have about what's in the construction documents and what's coming your way unless it changes course.
So Bob was first, I believe.
Thank you, Jim. The reason that we're really talking about this is we're thinking that if this entertainment or whatever, you know, it'd be a nice way to have it opened up. People could be out in the patio, and the presentation you could have right there. That's the reason.
Bob,
Which I
you're-
understand, and particularly, I mean, our sense, right, is that in an ideal world, in a world with no bugs, no sun control requirements, no panic hardening necessities, pairs of doors that are left open are very nice visually, right, in that connection to the terrace. As a practical matter, if you think about it, again, this is facing mostly south, so you've got to deal with sun control, which is much harder on a door. When we put 80 people into this room, seated at tables and chairs, as you see here, doors, which, you know, if they open out, there's a problem with that, right, in terms of, if they open in, it's somewhat of a code violation. So this is what we recommend, it's what we've recommended for some time. We still think that it's the best solution. If you think back to what we saw in Walpole, and I actually brought pictures of that, you know, they have what are called nanowall doors, right? They're actually incredibly expensive. These doors are like 7 feet high, so not particularly generous. And I honestly would be, as someone who lives in New England, I'd love to know how often they're left open without any screens or control. As a practical matter, I understand it might be done at times, but day to day, we tend not to leave the doors open, you know? But, so that's where I stand, I guess, you know? Just do know the windows have been released. So the shop drawings have been submitted and they've been released. But that said, it is important to know that this is the way it's looking for some time. Please.
Chairman, can I speak? Am I correct that all doors, all entrances have to be handicap accessible?
Yes.
In general, yes,
That's what I
yes.
thought, okay. And I know they're expensive.
Every time you have a door, particularly if it's handicap accessible, it presents issues with water, you know, there's complications with them. And it is why we try to minimize them. There's a lot of hardware involved, there's exit signs, so. There's security, so the added cost, there's a practical matter in a commercial building, you know, I think it's wise to minimize them.
Bob Maduro.
And what we really have tried to, if you think about how large these windows are, right? I mean, they're quite large, they're 3 feet by, each single window, actually, of course, there's no dimension on here. They're like 3 feet by 6 feet or more, right? 3 feet 1 by 6, whatever, plus the transom. And I think this conveys, when you look outside, you're seeing outside, there's good connection. There's not the flow of people from in to out, but I really do think as a practical matter of time to find that challenging on a day-to-day basis to manage. That's my opinion. Other people clearly could have other opinions.
Brian, I see your hand, but I've called Bob
No,
for.
you've answered my question, that's what I was gonna ask you. You've answered my question. I'm satisfied.
Brian?
To change it now is gonna be very expensive. And if you go back to the floor plan, can you show the floor plan? It's gonna, now you have to change all your tables, because now you have to make those doors accessible, you have to have a 42 inch or 48 inch passage in front of it, you're gonna lose those two tables at the top.
And now on a nice day, you can open the windows.
Yeah.
If you open the door, you have, what do you do with the door? Is it locked down, you know?
The only thing that I could see is if you added another door to that space on the left. There, yeah, if you could add another door there, that might be, to me, makes more sense, or move that one over there. It's not
We
very-
thought from a room use, if you have carts, you're trying to serve, we
Yeah,
thought
you
having
know.
some
It's a good
wall
place to
is
park.
practical, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, the door could be added there, there's actually a roof over that section,
Mhm.
which will protect the door, which is important to us. But we think as a practical matter, being able to push carts or just have some space, you know, that's not door, that's not circulation, will be useful to you.
Yeah, 'cause you'd be changing window wall to basically like a storefront now, it'd be very expensive, and it's gonna delay the job. It's just my opinion.
Okay, seeing no other input, and we sort of beat this to death, I do not have, or I'm not gonna persuade somebody to make a motion. So, I did not hear from Beth. Did you raise your hand or do something, or do you care about this topic, or?
I think what the architect said makes sense, to leave it as is.
Okay, we'll leave it as is, and let's move on to the second Jim Slattery problem that isn't a problem.
Walkable petition is next.
Well, when we first looked at the building, where the round tables are, there was gonna be a wall between that room and the room on the left, which has the 3 squares and then the 2 oblongs. And there was gonna be a movable wall there, so we could have an excessively large room. Then, we decided they needed storage between the 2 rooms, and there was a problem with soundproofing and this, that, and we put in the storage room in between. But what I thought and what I saw on, 2 or 3 of the drawings is down in the lower right-hand corner at, say, 7 o'clock, where you see the 4 rows of 9 seats, and then that wall, and then the open room on the other side, that we have planned, in 2 or 3 of the conceptual drawings, there is, between those 2 rooms on the wall, is an opening or a sliding wall to make those 2 rooms one large room. But then in one of the drawings, it changes to a small opening, because we're putting a TV set or something. If you see row number 1, you'll see a dark line bump out. I believe that's supposed to be a TV. So somehow we only have one real large meeting room in this whole building, although most of the stuff in the other 4 rooms is movable, but each one of the rooms are very small, and I just thought our original plan was to have at least 2 large buildings,
I'm
2
not sure
large
there's-
rooms, and it didn't happen, and I was wondering what happened.
That was part of the DD.
It was part of the VE. I think it's also, we were showing a door along the wall where the cursor is now, the hand is, if you can all see that. There was a door shown there for a while. There was an option for that door in the DD, design development documents dated 5/23/22. And then, as part of the VE process, and I think also just discussions on function, we deleted those sliding doors. They were an issue from an acoustic perspective, making sure there wasn't gonna be sound leakage room to room, which became a concern. And then also just, and you can see it here with the configuration of the furniture and just having wall space, and, you know, it was just, didn't seem to be sufficiently functional to have those connecting doors. Add the acoustical and the cost issue, and the doors went away. Huh?
Power for those desks. If you take that and make it a folding wall, you have to put under slab power to all those things. That's a nightmare.
Well, what happens is, doing the simple, at one point, we had doors that were sort of basic sliding doors.
It can be manual.
They were manual, and, but then we had our acoustical consultant opine on those doors, and we weren't getting the separation that we thought was gonna be necessary to create, so you could be noisy on one side generally, and not everything leaking through the doors, so the doors went away. So they're presently not part of the construction
Okay,
documents.
any questions on this particular situation I brought up? No. I would ask that everybody look at this plan, and if they see something, say something. If you see something that's different or not what you thought we finally agreed on, please don't make me look like the only bad guy in the room. Speak up. I spoke up, I was not afraid. I thought, going with what Brian said, yes, if we went with the doors.
If I might, Jim, I don't wanna think of it as bad or good. We don't want surprises. We want people to have in the building what they expect when we're done.
Right.
As the architect, we wanna make sure there are no surprises, so I wanna encourage everyone, if there are any questions, please ask us.
And my other thing was, I thought it better to speak up now as far as expenses go, because let's just say we've dropped the window issue, but if we decided to change, we can easily order new windows and send back the old windows. You don't think so? I'm saying so. But I think it would be easier and cheaper to change it now than when we have the walls stop being built and everything else. Better to change it now than wait 6 months down the road when we're half built and it's gonna be next to impossible to make a change. That was one of my considerations of bringing this up now.
Jim?
Yes.
I just have a quick question. Did the door to the entrance to the food pantry, did that get moved, or is that just my imagination?
That, I'm not trying to stop you from asking a question, but that's on the list of,
No, I'm not talking about the pass-through, I'm talking about the.
no, I understand that,
Okay.
but that came up during the discussion of
Oh,
the
okay.
drive-up window.
Okay.
And that's next on our list after this, and
Okay.
I'd like to stay in order of what's on the list.
Absolutely.
And then I'll recognize your concern,
Okay.
which I also had a concern because discussing it with the OPM, we had the door on the outside edge by the driveway at one term. Now on this picture, it shows up on the inside.
Well, we can explain.
And we'll discuss it when we get there, but
Okay, thank you.
Kevin,
So Mike, what is the capacity of the big room with all the round tables in it? Do you know off the top of your head?
80.
Oh, it's based on the seating capacity shown, as shown? here?
Well,
You can fit more with
That's what I'm
just
getting at.
chairs.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. So that's an option too. You can break the tables down if they
right,
needed to
I
have a bigger
mean,
meeting.
you see here, they had movies here last week, I forget what day the movie was. Well, today they had a meeting here. Usually those round tables that are in the corner are set up, but when they have an open meeting where they're not serving anything, they fold everything up and just have chairs, so theoretically, I'm gonna say you could seat 110 people in chairs there. I'm not an architect or a chair expert,
I
but,
think you could.
you know.
That's my point. Does that help your concern a little bit?
It does, but it doesn't, because I was thinking of larger, I was theoretically thinking of a town meeting,
Okay.
in that this is a community building, and, you want a room where you can seat at least 200 people, and we have a brand-new building we're building that we can't, no room will fit more than, let's say, 110 people. And I have a concern about that, because there are some things, like when they had the hearings on the Cranberry Bog solar problem, they had to move the hearings somewhere else because they had like a 90 to 100 people. We're trying to provide the community with meetings, I mean, we're doing it in the town hall, and I forget and even if I knew, I wouldn't remember the correct number, what the selectmen's meeting room is gonna be. But, you know, we don't have a space in town other than the high school auditorium or gymnasium for a large meeting, and I just thought this was a way of creating it. And obviously, we've gone to customizing the building to the needs of the senior center and whatever. We were still discussing the install operational petitions. I have been convinced I'm wrong and we don't have to worry about it. Going on to the drive-up window, I have a long discussion about that. I won't get into it because I want to stay married, because my wife is one of the main people who provide the grab-and-go meals. And I have a safety issue with passing 15-pound bags of food through a drive-up window, but we won't get into that. But the other thing I was concerned about is the food pantry right now has a garage. It's used as like a grocery store, if I'm correct. People are let in there to do their shopping at the food pantry. To me, there's only one access door, although I thought it was just a door, but it looks like it's a double-type door that can be
One
swung
door's
open.
dead bolted most of the time.
Right,
And then the
with a
3-foot
deadbolt.
door day to day.
At one time, it was down to the left of the building, yes, down there, but because of the ramp for handicapped access, we had to move the door up. And I'm sorry, I don't have your name, but this is your chance to be the all-star here and speak up.
Oh, yeah, I just noticed that the door had gotten moved, but now I understand the explanation for it.
Are you not concerned about access in and out for the number of people that you have coming in and out?
As opposed to having an additional door to the
Well,
outside?
as opposed to you have a garage door now that you open up,
No, we don't.
you don't open
We
it up.
actually, we used to, and we converted them to 2 doors in order for the flow to work well. And, I believe we've cleared it with Beth, that the nights that we do have people come through and shop for their food, we would have to have access really to that door going into the hallway.
Correct.
So they can go out the exit that
And I
way.
think that was part of my concern about the drive-up window, that we could have made that a door, because I personally don't think we should be handing 80-year-old people stuff out a drive-up window and have them trying to drive a car at the same time. But that's neither here nor there, but
No, but what was just described in terms of using the door into the vestibule, does give you second access. And that door that's to the senior side, that's a control point, so that door can be locked, and that vestibule could be utilized.
Right. I don't know if Beth had ever considered or suggested, I'm sorry, my name is Gloria Barker, by the way, just to clarify. If Beth had ever suggested a door rather than the pass-through window, if that would have made things easier, or she just liked the idea of a pass-through window.
I think it's been a pass-through for a long time.
That's
yeah,
what I
that's
thought.
been a pass-through for day one,
Right,
because my personal feeling, which all of this is my personal feelings, is that at the beginning, I think the food pantry and the senior center food programs got combined, and they thought they could use it for the grab-and-go meals. And they also, and I have a problem that once a week, they get cartons from Bristol County Elders, that right now they leave out on the walkway, and to try to pass them out a window would be completely impossible.
Which I don't think has ever been the intent to pass out bulk food out the window. It was
no,
only-
we wouldn't use it,
And that was
No.
never the intention.
right.
Only your lunch, your light lunch.
And Beth is shaking her head, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's only for the grab and go meals.
Grab and go meals, right,
Okay.
That's my recollection.
Which right now are brought out to the people, correct?
yes.
Yeah, you have to drive
All
up.
sorts of weather, yes.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted to try to.
Okay, in that has also not a problem anymore, and I'm very glad for Gloria to show up, because I wanted somebody that knew something about the area and have some input, so I thank you very much for coming. Is there anybody else that want to have any input? Other than Mark who wants to go home?
So we're not deleting the drop-in window?
Hmm?
We're not deleting it?
No change.
No change.
No changes, of
Which is
course,
good,
my
because-
idea is, why would they be
The
changing?
answer's no.
Yeah.
Jim?
Okay,
Jim?
whoop,
Jim,
yes.
I have one question, please. Would there be an awning over that window so that, you know, they could, if it was a rainy day or something, they wouldn't get wet? Would there be a little awning, maybe?
There's a little bit of a gable end.
There is?
But it's not.
Hold on, we're referring to the drawings.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta try.
We're gonna get Bob to hold an umbrella over there.
It actually isn't easy.
This is where all the money went, Bob,
Yeah,
which is.
I have no problem with this.
Was that it right there?
Go down.
Yeah, we're getting there.
No,
He's
I
getting
feel
there.
There's a little,
Chum, chum.
yeah.
So
a little
this,
valve or
this, oh, yeah.
That little pop-out has a little gable end on it that sticks out 18 inches. So water won't be running right down the facade, but if there's wind-driven rain, you know. And if you think about a lot of McDonald's and whatever nowadays, they tend not to have too much because,
People get, yeah.
people
Well,
drive.
based on the size of vehicles, they
Yeah.
can clip.
They can
Yeah.
clip the door, yeah. So they tend to be fairly simple these days. Bump
Okay.
outs.
Keep us in water.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on. Stephen, you're up for the schedule. Oh, free time, I get to talk. I have nothing more to say, hard to believe. Huh?
Steve, I noticed on LinkedIn.
Don't
the,
forget to vote on Saturday.
There you go. I noticed a job posting for this.
Oh, and if you're coming to
On-site
the
project manager on LinkedIn.
groundbreaking,
Company.
please remember that it's a
Yeah.
construction site, that you will be walking on rough pavement, that there will be, it's not gonna be like dancing in the senior center here or walking in your driveway. It will be a construction site, so please be careful. There are concerns by our OPM and a lot of other people about the size of the audience and the population of the audience, so you are up, Steve.
Okay, I'll-
Enough of me as a filler.
Let me continue
And
with
we're gonna be
the
there.
senior community center. So we went through the these scope suggestion issues, schedule, just letting the PBC know that we do have a little early concerns with Seaver as far as their management, manpower, and schedule go. They are, because we allowed them to start early with the tree cutting, erosion control, abatement, they are ahead of schedule, but we're finding that they're falling a little bit behind on some of their project management, some of their paperwork, which we're attempting to deal with by keeping on them as far as reminders of what needs to come in. Example was, and Jim, you probably realized it when we were talking, that the site super was ready to pour concrete this week. And,
Yeah, for the footings.
and, you know, there was a submittal for the concrete and the rebar, that was revised and resubmit.
We gently reminded them.
Yeah, so, they're having a little bit of communication problem, I think, so. But, you know, that's part of what we need to do is manage them, get them into the,
What was the problem? Why did they stop and get ready to pour concrete? What happened?
no, he provided us a 2-week look-ahead schedule.
Okay.
That showed, this, I'm gonna be doing this, and then I'm gonna be getting ready to
Oh, I
pour
got it.
concrete.
And then-
And we said, before you do that, you gotta get your design mix approved and your rebar approved,
Okay, I got it.
so that sort of
Make sure.
quieted that
Okay, I got it.
conversation
Okay.
down.
Yep.
And it's not fabricated, which takes some stuff.
I think you would have known.
So in my non-politically correct way, whose job is it to kick them in the butt? You or me or?
No, it's us, you've hired us to do that, and I already put a call into Brian
Or
Cartier,
you're
who was
just
the
making
PM.
us aware of?
Just letting you know that we have concerns, so that you don't say, well, why didn't you tell us that?
This may
Let's
happen,
go.
right along, things may.
Sure,
go
oh,
wrong.
yeah,
It happens, it happens.
How do you deal with that?
Carefully.
Don't pay 'em.
You remind them that we're, you know, we're watching, you gotta do this, this, and this before, because a lot of times they'll say, oh, well, just let us go and do this, and then it'll be a hurry up. We don't wanna hurry up anything, because when you hurry up things, that's when you miss something.
And I don't mean to imply that Steve isn't doing his job, because I've been on site 2 or 3 times where he's reminded them that, like the soil samples, they sit in their office, and, which I hate Zoom anyway, but no offense, all you people out there. But, they're sitting in their office, yet they're supposed to pick up soil samples. Well, you can't pick up the soil samples if you're sitting in your office. You should be on site or have your on-site guy, which is Chris, deliver them to them. But Steve reminded them 2 or 3 times, the couple of times I've been there, that this is what you should be doing, and on the weekly construction meetings that I sit in on, Steve is doing his job. I just wanted to know why it's on here. It's on here to make us aware of what's going on.
Not asking for any actions or anything like that, it's just an update.
We have a trailer there, we have furniture in it, we have Wi-Fi now. For the Tuesday construction meetings, there's no reason why, for me personally, the people can't be there to be held personally accountable for whatever they're responsible for.
Steve, I've got a question for you. We spent $7,500 for a 60-foot hole, deep hole in the sand to find out that it's gonna be safe for earthquake, all right? They can't use that soil sample to find what kind of material they got there for the bottom of that foundational footing.
Well, the problem is that's one point. So part of the geotech's duties, part of his scope is to come out, once they get the footprint excavated down, making sure that layer that we think is here doesn't do one of these, and that we have to over-excavate for unsuitables. I got a project in Falmouth, that's what happened. That glacial till layer was where we thought it was, but a couple areas had some organics, had to be over-excavated and brought in. And we want the geotech to give us that approval.
Is that all in our contract?
Yes.
All of it?
Correct.
Not gonna cost us any more money?
Well, it depends, if we have to replace unsuitable materials that we don't know is there, that becomes a unit price.
So, can I add to that?
Right.
There's 2 parts to it. First part, when you dig down to your excavation level,
Yeah.
you have to proof roll it, which is what he's talking about. Typically, they do with a loaded dump truck or a 20,000-pound roller.
That's what we do, yeah, I
Yeah,
got that.
then, parts of it have to be built up, which is the structural fill, which is the samples.
And you're gonna
that need to be-
compact that?
Yes, but that has to go to the lab, it has to get a sieve and a Proctor analysis, there's a
Alright.
lot to it, and that
Alright.
takes a week.
Well, it's submitted with the sieve and a proctor. We have our independent, our third-party testing lab that's going through us. Confirm it, and then when they're doing the compaction, there's a tech out there, not the geotech, but the testing lab, which I said is Yankee.
Control fill.
Comes out and he's doing compaction as they go up in their lifts.
Yeah,
So that we're making sure we have our 95%. And that way, everything is
You
brought
answered
up,
my question. I got it.
backfill is tested,
I know.
road base is tested.
Yeah, well, I've been there.
You don't go overly crazy on it, we're not testing compaction on loam, which you don't do really anyway, but all your structural areas. So-
Okay, next.
And just one new thing that occurred today is we got an email back from Eversource Gas which we thought we were all set, and they just confirmed that we're all set with them, except
It's a nice surprise.
except that there's no utility back charge for their work, provided that the excavation for the gas line and backfilling of it on the site, not the street, on the site, is done by the general contractor.
That's normal.
That's normal, but we just gotta check to see whether we wrote by gas utility on the property or by the contractor. But they're gonna take care of all the street work, the street opening, police details, and they're gonna deal with Mass DOT.
Yeah, anything on the residential side belongs to the contractor. That's normal.
So that was sort of an unexpected thing from them. Okay. So, proposed change orders, we've only really, we got another one today, but I didn't add that to it because this is already PCO number one was for the additional boiler abatement that started out at 9,200, and we finalized it at 31,0365. That work is done. The next one that everybody was interested in is PCO two, which is the rubber brick pavers on the patio. And just to remind everybody that what we had originally was a concrete slab finished on the, coming out the back of the area that we just talked about. The change was to lower that slab, still have it, so that you could bear the rubber brick pavers and the grid that holds them together on that. So we got a price at last week's meeting of $82,425 for those rubber brick pavers. Now, I've got that, I'm showing that as under review, because we've sent comments back on it, that we think there's some information missing for us to evaluate it. The hours from the landscaper appear exorbitantly high, and we want more information on the materials. However, the upset limit on this change will be the 82,425. It'll never go higher than that unless we expand it. We're working to get it lower.
Yes. Okay, this is our first big change order. I am gonna refer this to
Not a change order, somebody's.
proposed change order. What am I talking? It says proposed
Yeah.
change order,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not finalized yet.
whatever.
But it's an owner's requested change order, I just wanna be clear
Right.
about that.
This is the first addition
Correct.
that we wanna make. I'm going to refer this to Bob Briscoe, because we're doing this at the request of the senior center director and the friends of the senior center, because the original intent was to have this as a fundraiser, and it tried to get included into the building itself. So I'll let Bob talk about it, and we're on.
First of all, I can't believe that price is right. You know, those bricks, when you got a cement pad to put them on, there's not a lot of labor to put them down. I don't care who you are. And I don't know if you've asked for 2 or 3 estimates, but 82,000 for a 50 by 25?
The only other way that we would get another estimate is if we went to another contractor. You know, we're dealing with Seaver, who's a general contractor. He has a landscaping subcontractor, which is Franny's Landscaping out of Franny. That's the price that we got. Now, again, we got feedback from IDI, who's our landscape architect, in regard to cost per square foot.
You don't believe it either, Bob?
Yeah. You know,
To cut to the chase.
it almost looks like it's a cost just
Let me
as a
ask-
money
In other words,
grab.
they raise it up so that you wouldn't do it.
let me
Or
ask you-
that, well, no, I think they're talking
Bob
some.
Maderos.
All right, they're gonna be pouring concrete in about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, approximately.
Yeah, we gotta.
Not that
Not
bad.
saying
Not the
concrete,
bad, when's the bad, about a month?
That,
more than that.
no, that'll be towards the end of the job.
All right.
We're doing this well in advance, but there is an issue with, some-
Rebar.
the rebar at the door.
All right, my question for $82,000, I mean, you could build a shed back there and store your stuff in there. It doesn't make sense.
I was gonna add, I've seen patios put in, and if you came in at 30,000, I think that would've been wise, so 80,000 is ridiculous.
I'll
Don't
go back
forget,
to-
this is
Yeah.
prevailing wage, so if you don't compare it to something that you might have done at your house, because
No,
the cost of labor is
No,
4
no,
times that.
I'm not talking about my house, no.
I'll go back to
Talking
Bob
about
Briscoe and let him
Commercial,
continue his
even commercial
presentation.
private is less.
Would you repeat that we've asked for backup?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'm not asking, I'm showing you what the number is, because that was of interest.
That's what we have.
We're not done reviewing it and trying to get that
Yeah,
down.
and I will have to admit that I pushed for this because I got pushed by a couple of citizens that at the last meeting, we were supposed to get a number, and we didn't get a number, and that was 30 days from when we made the first presentation on the bricks. Then it became, this would be 60 days since the first presentation, and up until last week, I don't think it was of interest to Seaver or OPM, and no insult meant. but I didn't think they took us seriously on wanting a number, and I sort of pushed for that number, so this may be an exaggerated number, I certainly hope it is. I just wanted clarification. I wanted the Friends of the Senior Center to do some research. I know the research I did, there's only one or two companies that actually do this work. So it's sort of a specialized field. It's not like you can hire ABC Landscaping and they go to the warehouse where this is and throw in the brick. You have to hire Iveco or whoever you mentioned there, because they're only one of two people that do it in Massachusetts. Even our contractor, Seaver, I don't think, maybe he was thinking, or they were thinking that they could do it themselves. But from what I've been told, it has to be done by the company that provides the
My
brick.
recommendation, if I could, is just let us continue to ask questions and hopefully get more information and see how we can try to resolve this.
Even though you're not a board member, I know somebody who's here who usually likes to get nudged on making a motion. I will accept the motion to table this to the next meeting for clarification.
There's no action on our part, Jeff.
You don't even need to do that, Jim. Just no
Oh, we
action.
just have to accept that.
I think we're just trying to update. Steve,
No,
we're
no,
trying to
I'm not
update.
asking for an approval on this.
Okay,
I'm
so
giving
let's
you
move on to
I'm
the
giving
town.
you an update.
I don't know, Bob, I don't wanna cut you short. Did you have?
I'm gonna check, I need to get my roll call, but I need to go to the wall first, I wanna talk to them on who the contractor was that did this, and talk to
Okay, let's move on to the town hall.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's just the pavers themselves is really the capital cost, because we already own the slab, right?
Right.
If
Pavers
it's dropping
and-
it down to.
Pavers and edging,
Yeah.
just to be clear, everyone
Okay.
that we've discussed.
Just make sure there's nothing
cost.
missing, okay.
Good.
Yeah, we're not recommending approval of that.
Okay,
So,
on to the town
Going
hall.
town hall, so the contract, and we went over this at the last meeting, the contract has been awarded to M. O'Connor Contracting, who was the low bidder, at $16,992,800, which includes alternate number 1 and 2. Contract has been signed and returned. Pre-construction meeting is scheduled for tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the town hall, at the stage meeting room. The other item on this was the issue of having an electrical rebid, because we rejected all of the electrical, original electrical file subbids, had the GCs carry a specific amount for the base contract plus alternate number 1 and number 2. We got the electrical rebids back on the 31st of March. Interestingly enough, we had one additional bidder than the first time around, which was Systems Contracting, who was the low bidder. Wayne J. Griffin was second low bidder. MB Electrical, who was the original low bidder, never changed his number at all, now became the third low bidder. And then Jupiter Electric was fourth. So, using Systems Contracting's total cost inclusive of alternates 1 and 2, they're actually lower than what we had the GCs carry for the electrical. So the first change order that will go to M. O'Connor will be a credit change order of $129,410, which they're fully aware of.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Jim, how are
Do
you?
you wanna ask a question and further this meeting along?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you just clarify the 22.5 and 35,000, that was just the columns, what those numbers?
The first column is the base bid electrical.
Yeah,
The second column is alternate number 1,
okay,
which was the access road.
okay.
And the 35,000, the third column, is the projector in the
Okay.
select board meeting room.
Okay, so electrical base bid, all 1 and 2 for a total.
Yep. So it's good news.
Any
And system is
questions?
also on the senior center as well.
Any questions?
Same electrical.
Going once, going twice? Move on.
Other issues?
Same thing.
FF&E working group for the town hall. I think that's different people from.
Town hall furniture?
Yeah, so it's Mike.
Took us 3 months to get one for the community center. You want one on the same night we did the one?
Well,
You're
at least,
asking a lot.
at least get a couple, because some of your people aren't here.
Okay,
Gonna be
making me
Mike
look good.
and
Is there
somebody
any
else.
volunteers, for even though we don't have Mike Units here, which I hadn't given any thought to, who to put on this committee, but I would assume it's gonna be Mike, because he is the town manager, and it's his office building, well, it's the taxpayer's office building, but he works in it. Are there any committee members that are interested? Brian is gonna step up to the plate again.
Mhm.
You do know you have a full-time job,
Yeah.
okay? You do know that you will probably have to attend meetings? Okay,
Same as
I'm
the last.
just making sure.
Every day but
Is there
Thursdays, good for
anybody
me.
else who wants to step up to the plate? Jim Slattery is not.
I'm not gonna be
I'm
there.
interested in that.
Hey, I already
If
threw
they
him
need
under the
to,
bus.
I'm
That's
not, I will.
what you want.
Can I make a suggestion?
But I'm horrible at picking up furniture,
Yes,
I'll give you that.
I guess I got a question and a suggestion. The question is, does the select board have to be part of this process or no?
I
That's the question.
believe, well, I'm gonna answer your question.
Go ahead.
And then you can answer it. I believe that Mike is their representative, but I'll let one of the select board answer the
As much as
question.
it pains me, you're correct. Yeah, Mike is our.
Could you say that again? I don't hear that very
Yes,
often.
you're absolutely correct. If they need
You
a
added
select board member,
absolutely.
I'll absolutely.
I will go, I will not, right now it's Brian and Mike, but at, Mike's suggestion, I will go to the other Mike and ask who we might wanna have on the committee.
And the second part is, the town hall has many different offices, if you will. What we want to avoid is a representative for every single office, because we'll never get anything done. So, we need to limit it.
And
That's
don't
just my
worry, and
suggestion.
having to put up with 15, and I,
No offense to any of those people, but
and I'm not taking offense, but having to put up with 15 people at a meeting, I know what smaller is better, and,
I just,
well,
I just wanna say that someone could represent the employee at the town hall, that Mike could actually take a pick.
correct.
Because you can't be locked out with too many people.
No, but
Correct.
at
That
some
That was
level,
my
we need
suggestion,
to,
but if Mike's not on the call, so.
if I could though, at some level, we do need to meet with people who represent the departments, because
Yes.
they're the users, we need to hear from them. They might not be the deciders,
Correct.
might be the
That's
committee,
my point.
but we need to hear from the people who are using these spaces.
I
that make
believe
sense?
that the people that work in the building, whoever they are, that are responsible, should be a part of, you know, the interior decorations.
well, I think when we did our research,
That's,
beginning surveys, they sat down with everybody in the building for their wants and needs. I think that Mike will do that.
yeah.
Whether, I mean, we used to have Estelle Flute show up at our meetings, and I thought of her more representing the employees of the town hall, but I'm sure there'll be somebody to step up to the plate.
Yeah, and I think if you
But
let us
that's
work
up
with
to,
Mike, we'll figure
that's
it
up
out.
to Mike to figure out who wants to or
Well,
whatever.
people wanna have certain things for flat files or
Right.
whatever, he's got an
Brian?
idea what he wants.
Brian?
And then the last part is, these could be procured together, even though they're separate projects, right? I don't know, maybe that's, because I think you get, you know, a better deal if you're buying twice
Probably
as much.
not.
No?
Because you're
Yes.
buying off the state
We're
bids.
gonna be buying different things.
Okay.
You're gonna probably
That's
have
what
a
I-
number of POs
Yeah.
as opposed to just one.
Yeah.
You got furniture, you got
Quite a bit.
copiers, you got
And
files.
then we've got separate cost codes for the two
Right.
projects too.
And,
so
and I would
Okay.
hope the people on these committees
we'll be
realize
able to track.
that we can, not everybody's gonna, this isn't like buying a new house and getting all new furniture. We can use file cabinets again, although you don't want 17 different styles of file cabinets, and you don't want 22 different styles of chairs. But, I mean, I'm looking at 12 round tables here. Hopefully, when they look at another 12 there, they look to see if they're compatible, but, you know, I'm hoping we're not buying all new furniture for both buildings, although Beth and her spa and swimming pool will want bigger and better things, but I think the town hall people, but I would hope they still have to come back to us for approval, and we're not gonna approve it because frugality is our motto here, and, it's not gonna happen. Go ahead, Brian.
The caution with that, and I'm sure you'll agree, is mix matching new versus existing, somebody's gonna have to go and measure every single piece of furniture they wanna reuse, because it's not gonna fit with their layout.
It's a
Just keep
fit
that in
issue,
mind.
it's a fit issue as well
Yeah.
at some level that, you know, you take old desks and whatever,
Yeah.
it just won't fit into those
Correct.
spaces.
So we just gotta
But
keep
let
that
us
in
work
mind.
through the process.
Okay, that's a problem for another day. Mark wants to get home. Stephen, I'll put the onus on you, throw you under the bus.
I'm all set, thank you.
Steve's all set. Okay, our next meeting is sometime in May. I don't have a calendar.
Are we doing months or are we doing bi-weekly? It's not, well,
I don't
back
know,
to
does
months,
the
right?
board feel we should start doing every other week, or are we at a time that?
Not yet.
I think a month is fine for now.
Yeah, I do too.
Until we get a lot, rocking on.
How about May 22nd? How does that fit into everybody's schedule? I know it doesn't fit into yours, Steve, because you probably got 7 other, and you're fine. Even though I wanted to put you on something.
That's right.
Can we do a week? I'm on vacation that week, can we do a week prior, maybe the
No,
15th?
I'm going out of town. I ain't gonna retire completely.
May 15th is the town meeting, right?
Thank you. Can we wait till, Jim, off on that week, the 22nd, can we possibly do?
The week after is
Yeah,
Memorial Day.
yeah, that's true, a week prior was the town meeting.
June 5th.
No, we'll leave it that way, that's fine.
Do we wanna go, I don't like going a long time. How about June 5th?
No, the 22nd, he said it was all right.
You said it's okay.
27th?
Second.
22nd, that's fine.
22nd.
That's fine.
Okay, we're back to the 22nd.
Yep.
I can always zoom in, right? You love Zoom, right, Jim?
Yes.
Sure. If I recognize you here, I'll recognize you there. Let's try.
Everyone good? 22nd?
Everybody's good with the 22nd? We'll ask Beth, although she's still online, if she's okay using her our senior center. Okay, so we'll be here at 6 o'clock
The chair,
with no Jim Slattery additions, I hope. I thank everybody. Don't forget to vote Saturday. Motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Brian, Mark, seconds. All in favor?
Yeah, that's good.
Everybody raise their hand, okay?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.